Hello everyone, hi. Eh, I always forget that I need to have my mic over here. How? My fingers. There we go. Now you can hear me better. So, parkour. Um, I had a little question for you. Um, I had an idea. Yeah, that's the reason I'm learning where I need to have my things. um, a liar is one of my good friends. My good RL friends. Well, that is interesting. Why it said you followed earlier this year. um, I was thinking to have my phone like out here to the side, so I could actually um, see when people were texting. If we could make something for my book stand where I could have my phone put on the side, so I could actually see what people were writing to me. Um, if you were able to help me design that. That would be very much appreciated if you were, but also okay if you do not have time for it. Hmm. Hmm. I just got a I just got an idea. Another idea. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna make myself. Uh, yeah, it's all good. It's nothing in a hurry. Uh, so don't worry about it. Also, it was just a question if you had the time. And if you didn't have the time, it would also be okay. Okay, 2 seconds. I just got an idea. It's kind of bad when I get ideas. Yeah, nice. So this was my idea to have this on my uh, On my microphone. Yeah, my ideas are running fast, quite fast. But I can get this made myself at the library. Um, but let us give it until, shall we say, after after the weekend coming this week, or next week. So in like a week or so, let's talk about it there, because then it can be that it wasn't an idea I actually wanted to follow through. That's the kind of fucked up thing about ADHD. You get so many ideas, and half of them are something which you should not have done. Um, yeah, I can't remember if I told you, but I found a place inside of Copenhagen which actually makes custom frames. So I might talk to them about getting my frame made. I don't know the price yet, but I think it's about 500. What would that thing be? Because my memory is not that good at the moment. The heat is impacting me a lot, unfortunately. Yeah, the phone holder, yeah. But that we can talk about in a week or so, when I have had the time to think about if it's a good idea or not. So yeah, because I also need to redo the setup where my light is, because I have printed a new one, so I need to finish that so I can actually have taller books on my book stand. So yeah, we will see what happens. Oh, but yes, I just finished my homework today, so that was quite nice. And for some reason, I didn't learn that much when we had business communication. Uh, but I think it's because of my teacher not being able to like spit out the facts properly and going too fast through things. So yeah, I just borrowed a book to read it in. But the book is nice, and it gives a good insight um, into differences. Oh yeah, sorry, Sika. My brain was timing out in a when you wrote. I'm actually doing quite okay at the moment. Starting up school again is kind of hard, especially because of the first 3 days, which was just introduction and socializing, which is not my easiest side. It's a very draining thing for me to socialize with too many people. But I am trying, and that is what is important to try. Yes. Couldn't it be fun if I made this bonbon into book bon? Just a little hat, a little book, and a little skirt, and some glasses. It could be fun, but a very time-consuming project as well. Yeah, that looks cute. So yes, I hope everyone else is doing good as well, or at least trying. Yeah, no top. Because Bookbun does not have a top, only has a skirt. Oh yeah, I almost forgot my YouTube. I forgot to see where when the last time was I uploaded something. 13 days ago. So I do not think I uploaded from last time. Might. Hi Ike, hi. Oh, that's nice. I'm so much looking forward to the temperatures dropping. Oh my god. It has been a fluffing nightmare with all this heat. Hi Ike, hi. Welcome in. Give carrots. Yeah. You can get carrots. Earthling! Earthling! Can you give Ike some carrots? He has been a good danger bonbon. Oh my god, I saw something on uh, um, on Instagram. They're just over summer and waiting for autumn. We have real carrots. You can go down and get some real carrot. Woohoo! Ow. Yeah. 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 Every danger bonbon is innocent. All of them. Until they need to release their inner demons. Well, then you can. Ooh, I, I know what we need now. We need an engineer bonbon. I need an engineer bonbon. No, a dispenser. A carrot dispenser. Yeah, that would be nice. So, but yeah, it is time to read the next chapter of the book. And I can see we are actually almost halfway, if not always halfway, already halfway, but at least almost. We are about halfway. That's an easier way to say it. So yes. Chapter 9, Flotsam and Jetsam. Gandalf and the king's company rode away, turning eastward to make the circuit of the ruined walls of Isengard. But Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas remained behind, leaving Arod and Hasufel to stray in search of grass. They came and sat beside the hobbits. Well, well, the hunt is over, and we meet again at last, where none of us ever thought to come, said Aragorn. And now that the great ones have gone to discuss high matters, said Legolas, the hunters can perhaps learn the answers to their own small riddles. We tracked you as far as the forest, but there are still many things that I should like to know the truth of. And there is a great deal, too, that we want to know about you, said Merry. We have learned a few things through Treebeard, the old Ent, but that is not nearly enough. All in good time, said Legolas. We were the hunters, and you should give an account of yourselves to us first. Or second, said Gimli. It would go better after a meal. I have a sore head, and it is past midday. You truants might make amends by finding us some of the plunder that you spoke of. Food and drink would pay off some of my score against you. Then you shall have it, said Pippin. Will you have it here, or in more comfort in what's left of Sauron's guardhouse, or over there under the arch? We had to picnic out here. so as to keep an eye on the road. Less than an eye, said Gimli. But I will not go into any orc house, nor touch orcs' meat, or anything that they have mauled. We wouldn't ask you to, said Merry. We have had enough of orcs ourselves to last a lifetime. But there were many other folk in Isengard. Saruman kept enough wisdom not to trust his orcs. He had men to guard his gates, some of his most faithful servants, I suppose. Anyway, they were favored and got good provisions. And Pipeweep? Asked Gimli. No, I don't think so, Merry laughed. But that is another story, which can wait until after lunch. Well, let us go and have lunch then, said the dwarf. The hobbits led the way, and they passed under the arch and came to the wide open door, to a wide door upon the left, at the top of a stair. It opened direct into a large chamber, with other small doors at the far end, and a hearth and chimney at one side. The chamber was hewn out of stone, and must once have been dark, for its windows looked out only into the tunnel, but light came in now through the broken roof. On the hearth wood was burning. I lit a bit of fire, said Pippin. It cheered us up in the fogs. There were few faggots about, and most of the wood we could find was wet. But there is a great draught in the chimney. It seems to wind away up through the rock, and fortunately it has not been blocked. A fire is handy. I will make you some toast. The bread is 3 or 4 days old, I'm afraid. Aragorn and his companions sat themselves down at one of the long tables, and the hobbits disappeared through one of the inner doors. Storeroom in there, and above the floods, luckily, said Pippin, as they came back laden with dishes, bowls, cups, knives, and food of various sorts. And you need not turn up your nose at the provender, Master Gimli, said Merry. This is not orc stuff, but man food, as Treebeard calls it. Will you have wine or beer? There's a barrel inside there, very passable. And this is first-rated salted pork. Or I can cut you some rasher of bacon and broil them if you like. I'm sorry there's no green stuff. The deliveries have been rather interrupted in the last few days. I cannot offer you anything to follow but butter and honey for your bread. Are you content? Indeed, yes, said Gimli. The score is much reduced. The three were soon busy with their meals, and the 2 hobbits, unabashed, said to a second time. We must keep our guests company, they said. You are full of courtesy this morning, laughed Legolas. But maybe if we had not arrived, you would already have been keeping one another company again? Maybe, and why not, said Pippin. We had foul fare with the orcs, and little enough for 4 days before that. It seems a long while since we could eat to heart's content. It does not seem to have done you any harm, said Aragorn. Indeed, you look in the bloom of health. Ay, you do indeed, said Gimli, looking them up and down over the top of his cup. Why your hair is twice as thick and curly as when we parted. And I would swear that you have both grown somewhat. if that is possible for hobbits of your age. This Treebeard at any rate has not starved you. He has not, said Merry, but Ents only drink, and drink is not enough for content. Treebeard's draughts may be nourishing, but one feels the need of something solid, and even Lembas is none the worse for a change. You have drunk the waters of the Ents, have you? Said Legolas. Ah, then I think it is likely that Gimli's eyes do not deceive him. Strange songs have been sung of the draughts of Fangorn. Many strange tales have been told about that land, said Aragorn. I had never entered it. Come, tell me more about it, and about the Ents. Ents, said Pippin. Ents are... Well, Ents are all different for one thing. But their eyes are very odd. He tried a few fumbling words that trailed off into silence. Oh well, he went on. You have seen some at a distance already. They saw you at any rate, and reported that you were on the way. And you will see many others, I expect, before you leave here. You must form your own ideas. Now, said Gimli. We are beginning the story in the middle. I should like a tale in the right order, starting with the strange day when our fellowship was broken. You shall have it if there is time, said Merry. But first, if you have finished eating, you shall fill your pipes and light up. And then for a little while we can pretend that we are all back safe at Bree again, or in Rivendell. He produced a small leather bag full of tobacco. We have heaps of it, he said, and you can all pack as much as you wish when we go. We did some salvage working this morning, Pippin and I. There are lots of things floating about. It was Pippin who found 2 small barrels, washed up out of some cellar or storehouse, I suppose. When we opened them, we found that they were filled with this. As fine a pipeweed as you could wish for, and quite unspoiled. Gimli took some and rubbed it in his palm and sniffed it. It feels good, and it smells good, he said. It is good, said Merry. My dear Gimli, it is Longbottom Leaf. There were the Hornblower brand marks on the barrels as plain as plain. How it came here, I can't imagine. For Saruman's private use, I fancy. I never knew that it went so far abroad, but it comes in handy now. It would, said Gimli, if I had a pipe to go with it. Alas, I lost mine in Moria, or before. Is there no pipe in all of your plunder? No, I'm afraid not, said Merry. We have not found any, not even here in the guard's room. Saruman kept his dainty to himself, it seems. And I don't think it would be of any use knocking on the doors of Orthanc to beg a pipe of him. We shall have to share pipes, as good friends must at a pinch. Half a moment, said Pippin, putting his hand inside the breast of his jacket. He pulled out a little soft wallet on a string. I keep a treasure or 2 near my skin, as precious as rings to me. Here's one, my old wooden pipe. And here's another, an unused one. I have carried a long way, though I don't know why. I never really expected to find any pipeweed. On the journey, when my own ran out. but now it comes in useful after all. He held up a small pipe with a white flattened bowl and handed it to Gimli. Does that settle the score between us? He said. Settle it, cried Gimli. Most noble hobbit, it leaves me deep in your debt. Oh. Oh. Thank you for that, Earthling. Oh. And I am drinking a bit of my tea. Oh. Okay. Well, I am going back into the open air to see what the wind and sky are doing, said Legolas. We will come with you, said Aragorn. They went out and seated themselves upon the pile stones before the gateway. They could see far down into the valley now. The mists were lifting and floating away upon the breeze. Now let us take our ease here for a little, said Aragorn. We will sit on the edge of ruin and talk, as Gandalf says, while he is busy elsewhere. I feel a weariness, such as I have seldom felt before. He wrapped his grey cloak about him, hiding his mail shirt, and stretched out his long legs. Then he lay back and sent from his lips a thin stream of smoke. Look, Pip, said Pippin, Strider the Ranger has come back. He has never been away, said Aragorn. I am Strider, and Dunedain too, and I belong both to Gondor and the North. They smoked in silence for a while, and the sun shone on them, slanting into the valley from among white clouds high in the west. Thank you, Earthling. Thank you. Legolas lay still, looking up at the sun and sky with steady eyes, and singing softly to himself. At last he sat up. Come now, he said. Time wears on, and the mists are blowing away. Or would if you strange folk did not wreathe yourself in smoke. What of the tale? Well, my tale begins with waking up in the dark and finding myself all strung up in an orc camp, said Pippin. Let me see what is today. The 5th of March in the Shire reckoning, said Aragorn. Pippin made some calculation on his fingers. Only 9 days ago, he said. It seems a year since we were caught. Well, though half of it was like a bad dream, I reckon that 3 very horrible days followed. Mary will correct me if I forget anything important. I am not going into details. The whips and the filth and the stench and all that. It does not bear remembering. With that he plunged into an account of Boromir's last fight and the orc march from Immenmule to the forest. The others nodded as the various points were fitted in with their guesses. Here are some treasures that you let fall, said Aragorn. You'll be glad to have them back. He loosened his belt from under his cloak and took from it the 2 sheathed knives. Well, said Merry, I never expected to see those again. I marked a few orcs with mine, but Ugluk took them from us. How he glared. At first I thought he was going to stab me, but he threw the things away as if they burned him. And here also is your brooch, Pippin, said Aragon. I have kept it safe, for it is a very precious thing. And here is also is your. I know, said Pippin. It was a wrench to let it go, but what else could I do? Nothing else, answered Aragon. One who cannot cast away a treasure at need in the fetters. You did rightly. The cutting of the bands on your wrists. That was smart work, said Gimli. Luck served you there. But you seized your chance with both hands, one might say. And set us a pretty riddle, said Legolas. I wondered if you had grown wings. Unfortunately not, said Pippin. But you did not know about Grishnak. He shuddered and said no more, leaving Merry to tell of those last terrible moments, the pouring hands, the hot breath, and the dreadful strength of Grisnak's hairy arms. All this about the orcs of Barad-dûr, Lockburrs as they call it, makes me uneasy, said Aragon. The Dark Lord already knew too much, and his servants also, and Grisnak evidently sent some messages across the river after the Crowl. The Red Eye will be looking towards Isengard. But Saruman, at any rate,
I'm late.
is
I'm late.
Thank you for the sub, Mike. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, if that was the thing, he would have taken a wrong turn. Oh my god, Mike. For fuck's sake. Wow. Yeah. True. Mike. No. No smelly. But thank you for the sub. I really appreciate it. Yes, whichever side wins, his outlook is poor, said Mary. Things began to go all wrong for him from the moment his orc set foot in Rohan. We caught a glimpse of the old villain, or so Gandalf hints, said Gimli, on the edge of the forest. When was that? Asked Pippin. 5 nights ago, said Aragon. Let me see, said Mary. 5 nights ago. Now we come to a part of the story you know nothing about. We met Treebeard that morning after the battle, and that night we were at Wellinghall, one of his Ent houses. The next morning we went to Entmoot, a gathering of Ents, that is, and the queerest thing I have ever seen in my life. It lasted all that day and the next, and we spent the nights with an Ent called Quickbeam. And then late in the afternoon, in the third day of their mood, the Ent suddenly blew up. It was amazing. The forest had felt as tense as if a thunderstorm was brewing inside it. Then all at once it exploded. I wish you could have heard the song as they marched. If Saruman had heard it, he would be 100 miles away by now, even if he had had to run on his own legs, said Pippin. Though Isengard be strong and hard, as cold as stone, and bare as bone, we go, we go, we go to war, to hew the stone and break the door. There was very much more. A great deal of the song had no words, and was like a music of horns and drums. It was very exciting, but I thought it was only marching music and no more. Just a song. Until I got here. I know better now. We came down over the last ridge into Nankurunir after night had fallen, Mary continued. It was then that I first had the feeling that the forest itself was moving behind us. I thought I was dreaming an empty stream, but Pippin had noticed it too. We were both frightened, but we did not find out more about it until later. It was the hounds, or so the Ents call them in short language. Treebeard won't say much about them, but I think they are Ents that have become almost like trees, at least to look at. They stand here and there in the wood or under its eaves, silent, watching endlessly over the trees. But deep in the darkest dales, there are hundreds and hundreds of them, I believe. There is a great power in them, and they seem able to wrap themselves in shadow. It is difficult to see them moving, but they do. They can move very quickly if they are angry. You stand still looking at the weather, maybe, or listening to the rustling of the wind, and then suddenly you find that you are in the middle of a wood with great groping trees all around you. They still have voices and can speak with the Ents. That is why they are called horns. Treebeard says, but they have become queer and wild, dangerous. I should be terrified of meeting them if there were no true Ents about to look after them. True. Yeah, I do not need that. But thank you. Oh, thank you, Mike. Come on, everyone. We need to drop that down. Drop, 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 drop. Drop, 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 drop. Wow, I can't even fucking spell. Yeah, brain is not braining. There we go. No, you can't take your own patate. Mohaha. You can come and have dinner at my place. Oh, nobody landed. Such a shame. Ooh. Mm, I wonder if something happened. No, nothing interesting have been happening. There's only been one fire alarm today. I also got a mail about the bunny game. I look very much forward to see that. Yeah, this one. It's called Cinnabunny. I already have the I think it's called Bun House. Yeah, Baker Bunny. It's gonna be great. I'm looking very much forward to its release, even though there is like a half a year to go. Ugh. I actually think that there's half a year to go at the moment. Eh. Oh, that cooled down. That was nice. Nice. Well, we all have different games we like to see. Yeah, I'm looking a lot forward to the game called um what the fuck is it called? It's called Contractville. Um, when that is coming out. Not coming out. When they have fixed the um all the bugs which is in it. Because right now can't I can't really play with my girlfriend because of the ping. Makes it unbearable in the game, and like it um it makes it unplayable. Yeah, I do. I have played a lot with Mike. Um, but it seems like a lot of people are going away from Helldivers 2 to play Space Marines 2, the Warhammer game. So yeah, we will see how long it stays. Yeah, I heard something about that they were making a big update Was it you which told me that, uh, Mike? Well, it's not good for health for the Hill Divers team that a lot of their players are moving over to another game. But it can also just be um, just be a now thing, so not something which will um, actually be concurrent. But we will see. Yeah, it was. And I heard something about the latest major order in the game was something where the bots and bugs were helping each other and like twisting uh, the warfront. But yeah, but maybe the yeah, it wouldn't wonder me. It makes sense when so many people leave and they um, do not balance it out. But a lot of people has also just um, stopped protecting things. It's still on its way. But yeah, who knows? Maybe it will never come. Depends on how long the game is out. I can't even remember what the third one is called. But yeah, it was mental that you had to have. Yeah, exactly. Or one and a half. Yeah, the Illuminate or something like that. Yeah. Ooh, I like that. Oh, nice, Sika. Nice. That is very nice. Everyone go into the Discord and see what Sika has baked. It looks nice. Is it sourdough bread or what? No, it's a exclamation mark the Discord. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can. Of course you can. Nice. Why did this not work? Oh, stupid Twitch app. Oh, thank you for the stretch. Oh. Oh yeah. Yeah, of course. I couldn't do that. It takes too much energy. Um, and I would just forget everything. Okay, let's see how many pages we have today. 750, so we have 13 pages left. Well, have a nice, relaxing week. And thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. Okay. Well, in the early nights, we crept down a long ravine into the upper end of the Wizard's Vale, the ends with all their rustling horns behind. We could not see them, of course, but the whole air was full of creaking. It was very dark, a cloudy night. They moved at a great speed as soon as they had left the hills, and made a noise like a rushing wind. The moon did not appear through the clouds, and not long after midnight there was a tall wood all around the north side of Isengard. There was no sign of enemies, nor any challenge. There was a light gleaming from a high window in the tower. That was all. Treebeard and a few more Ents crept on, right round to within sight of the great gates. Pippin and I were with him. We were sitting on Treebeard's shoulders, and I could feel the quivering tenseness in him. But even when they are roused, Ents can be very cautious and patient. They stood still as carved stones, breathing and listening. Then all at once there was a tremendous stir. Trumpets blared, and the walls of Isengard echoed. We thought that we had been discovered, and that battle was going to begin, but nothing of the sort. All Sauron's people were marching away. I don't know much about this war, or about the horsemen of Rohan, but Saruman seems to have meant to finish off the king and all his men with one final blow. He emptied Isengard. I saw the enemy go, endless lines of marching orcs, and troops of them mounted on great wolves. And there were battalions of men too. Many of them carried torches, and in the flare I could see their faces. Most of them were ordinary men, rather tall and dark-haired, and grim, but not particularly evil-looking. But there were some others that were horrible, man-high, but with goblin faces, sallow, leering, squint-eyed. Do you know, they reminded me at once of that southerner at Bree, only he was not so obviously orc-like as most of these were. I've thought of him too, said Aragon. We had many of these half-orcs to deal with at Helm's Deep. It seems plain now that that southerner was a spy of Saruman's, but whether he was working with the Black Riders or for Saruman alone, I do not know. It is difficult with these evil folk to know when they are in league and when they are cheating on another. Well, of all sorts together, there must have been 10,000 at the very least, said Mary. They took an hour to pass out of the gates. Some went off down the highway to the forts, and some turned away and went eastward. A bridge has been built down there, about a mile away, where the river runs in a very deep channel. You could see it now if you stood up. They were all singing with harsh voices and laughing, making a hideous din. I thought things looked very black for Rohan, but Treebeard did not move. He said, my business is with Isengard tonight, with rock and stone. But though I could not see what was happening in the dark, I believe that Horns began to move south, as soon as the gates were shut again. Their business was with orcs, I think. They were far down in the valley in the morning, or at any rate there was a shadow there that one could see through. As soon as Saruman had sent off all his army, our turn came. Trivia put us down and went up to the gates and began hammering on the doors and calling for Saruman. There was no answer except arrows and stones from the walls. But arrows are no use against Ents. They hurt them, of course, and infuriate them like stinging flies. But an Ent can be stuck as full as of orc arrows as a pincushion and take no serious harm. They cannot be poisoned, for one thing, and their skin seems to be very thick and tougher than bark. It takes a very heavy axe stroke to wound them seriously. They don't like axes, but there would have to be a great many axemen to one Ent. A man that hacks once at an Ent never gets a chance of a second blow. A punch from an Entfish crumbles up iron like thin tin. When Treebeard had got a few arrows in him, he began to warm up to get positively hasty, as he would say. He let out a great whom, and a dozen more Ents came striding up. An angry Ent is terrifying. Their fingers and their toes just freeze onto the rock, and they tear it up like bread crusts. It was like watching the work of great tree roots in 100 years, all packed into a few moments. They pushed, pulled, tore, shook, and hammered, and clang bang, crash crack. In 5 minutes they had these huge gates just lying in ruin, and some were already beginning to eat into the walls, like rabbits in a sandpit. I don't know what Saruman thought was happening, but anyway, he did not know how to deal with it. His wizardry may have been falling off lately, of course, but anyway, I think he has not much grit. Not much plain courage alone in a tight place, without a lot of slaves and machines and things. if you know what I mean. Very different from old Gandalf. I wonder if his fame was not alone mainly due to his cleverness in settling at Isengard. Hi, Sin. Hi. What is that? I have no clue what Lollapalooza stage is, but maybe you can tell me what it is. Oh, nice. It was in Berlin. Interesting. Yeah, I haven't heard about it. Probably because I do not go to music festivals. Yeah, I haven't heard about it like ever. But well, it's also not my interests. No, said Aragorn. Once he was as great as his fame made him. His knowledge was deep, his thought was subtle, and his hands marvelously skilled, and he had a power over the minds of others. The wise he could persuade, and the smaller folk he could daunt. That power he certainly still keeps. There are not many in Middle Earth that I should say were safe, if they were left alone to talk with him. Even now, when he has suffered a defeat, Gandalf, Elrond, and Galadriel perhaps, now that his wickedness had been laid bare, but very few others. Oh, but was it good then? Oh, oh, yeah, that was nice. The Ents are safe, said Pippin. He seems at one time to have got round them, but never again. And anyway, he did not understand them, and he made the great mistake of leaving them out of his calculations. He had no plan for them, and there were no time to make any once they had set to work. As soon as our attack began, the few remaining rats in Isengard started bolting through every hole that the Ents made. The Ents let the men go after they had questioned them, 2 or 3 dozen only down at this end. I don't think many orc folk of any size escaped. Not from the horns. There was a wood full of them all around Isengard by that time, as well as those that had gone down the valley. When the Ents had reduced a large part of the southern walls to rubbish, and what was left of his people had bolted and deserted him, Saruman fled in a panic. He seems to have been at the gates when we arrived. I expect he came to watch his splendid army march out. When the Ents broke their way in, he left in a hurry. They did not spot him at first, but the night had opened out, and there was a great light of stars, quite enough for the Ents to see by, and suddenly Quickbeam gave a cry. The tree killer! The tree killer! Quickbeam is a gentle creature, but he hates Saruman all the more fiercely for that. His people suffered cruelly from orc axes. He leapt down the path from the inner gate, and he can move like a wind when he is roused. There was a pale figure hurrying away in and out of the shadows of the pillars, and it had nearly reached the stairs of to the tower door. But it was a near thing. Quickbeam was so hot after him that he was within a step or two of being caught and strangled when he slipped in through the door. When Saruman was safe back in Orthanc, it was not long before he set some of his precious machinery to work. By that time, there were many Ents inside Isengard. Some had followed Quickbeam, and others had burst in from the north and east. They were roaming about and doing a great deal of damage. Suddenly up came fires and foul fumes. The vents and shafts all over the plain began to spout and belch. Several of the Ents got scorched and blistered. One of them, Beachbone, I think he was called, a very tall, handsome Ent, got caught in a spray of some liquid fire and burned like a torch. A horrible sight. That sent them mad. I thought that they had been really roused before, but I was wrong. I saw what it was like at last. It was staggering. They roared and boomed and trumpeted until stones began to crack and fall at the mere noise of them. Mary and I lay on the ground and stuffed our cloaks into our ears. Round and round the rock of Orthanc, the Ents went striding and storming like howling gale, breaking pillars, hurling avalanches of boulders down the shafts, tossing up huge slabs of stone into the air like leaves. The tower was in the middle of a spinning whirlwind. I saw iron posts. Was in the middle of a spinning whirlwind. No, I saw iron posts and blocks of masonry go rocketing up hundreds of feet and smash against the windows of Orthanc. But Treebeard kept his head. He had not had many burns, luckily. He did not want his folk to hurt themselves in their fury, and he did not want Saruman to escape out of some hole in the confusion. Many of the Ents were hurling themselves against the Orthanc rock, but that defeated them. It was very smooth and hard. Some wizardry is in it, perhaps older and stronger than Saruman's. Anyway, they could not get a grip on it, or make a crack in it, and they were bruising and wounding themselves against it. So Treebeard went into the ring and shouted. His enormous voice rose above all the din. There was a dead silence suddenly. In it we heard a shrill laugh from a high window in the tower. That had a queer effect on the Ents. They had been boiling over. Now they became cold, grim as ice, and quiet. They left the plain and gathered around Treebeard, standing quite still. He spoke to them for a little in their own language. I think he was telling them of a plan he had made in his old head long before. Then it just faded silently away in the grey light. Day was dawning by that time. They set a watch on the tower, I believe, but the watchers were so well hidden in shadows and kept so still that I could not see them. The others went away north. All that day they were busy, out of sight. Most of the time we were left alone. It was a dreary day, and we wandered about a bit, though we kept out of the view of the windows of the Orthanc. As much as we could. They stared at us so threateningly. A good deal of time we spent looking for something to eat. And also we sat and talked, wondering what was happening away south in Rohan, and what had become of all the rest of our company. Every now and then we could hear in the distance the rattle and fall of stone, and thudding noises echoing in the hills. In the afternoon we walked round the circle and went to have a look at what was going on. There was a great shadowy wood of horns at the head of the valley, and another round the northern wall. We did not dare to go in, but there was a rending, tearing noise of work going on inside. Ensign horns were digging great pits and trenches, and making great pools and dams, gathering all the waters of the Isen and every other spring and stream that they could find. We left it to them. We left them to it, it said. At dusk, Treebeard came back to the gate. He was humming and booming to himself, and seemed pleased. He stood and stretched as his great arms and legs, and breathed deep. I asked him if he was tired. Tired, he said. Tired? Well, no, not tired, but stiff. I need a good draught of Entwash. We have worked hard. We have done more stone cracking and earth gnawing today than we have done in many a long year before. But it is nearly finished. When night falls, do not linger near this gate or in the old tunnel. Water may come through, and it will be foul water for a while, until all the filth of Saruman is washed away. The Isen can run clean again. He began to pull down a bit more of the walls, in a leisurely sort of way, just to amuse himself. We were just wondering where it would be safe to lie and get some sleep, when the most amazing thing of all happened. There was the sound of a rider coming swiftly up the road. Mary and I lay quiet, and Treebeard hid himself in the shadows under the ark. Suddenly a great horse came striding up like a flash of silver. It was already dark, but I could see the rider's face clearly. It seemed to shine, and all his clothes were white. I just sat up, staring with my mouth open. I tried to call out and couldn't. There was no need. He halted just by us and looked down at us. Gandalf, I said at last, but my voice was only a whisper. Did he say, "Hello, Pittibim? This is a pleasant surprise." "No, indeed," he said. "Get up, you tomfool of a Took. Where in the name of wonder in all this ruin is Treebeard? I want him, quick." Treebeard heard his voice and came out of the shadows at once, and there was a strange meeting. I was surprised because neither of them seemed surprised at all. Gandalf obviously expected to find Treebeard here, and Treebeard might almost have been loitering about near the gates on purpose to meet him. Yet we had told the old inn all about Moria, but then I remembered a queer look he gave us at the time. I can only suppose that he had seen Gandalf or had some news of him, but would not say anything in a hurry. "Don't be hasty," is his motto, but nobody, not even elves, will say much about Gandalf's movements when he is not there. Oh, thank you. Gandalf, said Treebeard. I am glad you have come. Wood and water, stock and stone I can master, but there is a wizard to manage here. Treebeard, said Gandalf, I need your help. You have done much, but I need more. I have about 10,000 orcs to manage. Then those two went off and had a council together in some corner. It must have seemed very hasty to Treebeard, for Gandalf was in a tremendous hurry and was already talking at a great pace. Before they passed out of hearing, they were only away a matter of minutes, perhaps a quarter of an hour. Then Gandalf came back to us, and he seemed relieved, almost merry. He did say he was glad to see us, then. But Gandalf cried, "Where have you been, and have seen the others?" "Wherever I have been, I am back," he answered in the genuine Gandalf manner. "Thank you, Earthling." "Yes, I have seen some of the others, but news must wait. This is a perilous night, and I must ride fast. But the dawn may be brighter, and if so, we shall meet again. Take care of yourself, and keep away from the Orthanc. Goodbye." Treebeard was very thoughtful after Gandalf had gone. He had evidently learned a lot in a short time, and was digesting it. He looked at us and said, Well, I find you are not such hasty folk as I thought. You said much less than you might, and no more than you should. This is a bundle of news, and no mistake. Well, now Treebeard must get busy again." Before he went, we got a little news out of him, and it did not cheer us up at all. But for the moment we thought more about you three than about Frodo and Sam, or about poor Boromir. For we gathered that there was a great battle going on, or soon would be, and that you were in it, and might never come back out of it. "Horns would help," said Treebeard. Then he went away, and we did not see him again until this morning. It was deep night. We lay on top of a pile of stone, and could see nothing beyond it. Mist or shadows blotted out everything like a great blanket all around us. The air seemed hot and heavy, and it was full of rustlings, creakings, and murmur like voices passing. I think that hundreds more of the horns must have been passing by to help in the battle. Later, there was a great rumble of thunder away south, and flashes of lightning far away across Rohan. Every now and then, we could see mountain peaks, miles and miles away, stab out suddenly, black and white, and then vanish. And behind us, there were noises like thunder in hills, but different. At times, the whole valley echoed. It must have been about midnight when the Ents broke dams and poured all the gathered water through a gap in the northern wall, down into Isengard. The Horndark had passed, and the thunder had rolled away. The moon was sinking behind the western mountains. Isengard began to fill up with black creeping streams and pools. They glittered in the last night of the moon as they spread over the plain. Every now and then the waters found their way onto some shaft or spout hole. Great white streams hissed up, smoke rose in billows. There were explosions and gusts of fire. One great coil of vapor went whirling up, twisting round and round Orthanc until it looked like a tall peak of cloud, fiery underneath and moonlit above, and still more water poured in, until at last Isengard looked like a huge flat saucepan, all steaming and bubbling. We saw a cloud of smoke and steam from the south last night, when we came to the mouth of Nancoronir, said Aragorn. We feared that Saruman was brewing some devilry for us. Not he, said Pippin. He was probably choking and not laughing any more. By the morning yesterday morning, the water had sunk down into all the holes, and there was a dense fog. We took refuge in that guardroom over there, and we had rather a fright. The lake began to overflow and pour out through the old tunnel, and the water was rapidly rising up the steps. We thought we were going to get caught like orcs in a hole, but we found a winding chair at the back of the storeroom that brought us up out on the top of the arch. It was a squeeze to get out, as the passages had been cracked and half blocked with falling stone near the top. There we sat high above the floods and watched the drowning of Isengard. The Ents kept on pouring in more water till all the fires was quenched and every cave filled. The fog slowly gathered together and steamed up into a huge umbrella of cloud. It must have been a mile high. In the evening, there was a great rainbow over the eastern hills, and then the sunset was blotted out by a thick drizzle on the mountain sides. It all went very quiet. A few wolves howled mournfully far away. The Ents stopped the inflow in the night and sent the Isen back into its old course. And that was the end of it all. Since then the water has been sinking again. There must be outlets somewhere from the caves underneath. I think if Sauron peeps out of any of his windows, it must look an untidy, dreary mess. We felt very lonely, not even a visible Ent to lure to talk to in all the ruin, and no news. We spent the night up on top there above the arch, and it was cold and damp, and we did not sleep. We had a feeling that anything might happen at any time. Saruman is still in his tower. There was a noise in the night, like a wind coming up from the valley. I think the Ents and horns that had been away came back then, but where they have all gone to now, I do not know. It was a misty, moisty morning when we climbed down and looked around again, and nobody was about. And that is about all there is to tell. It seems about almost peaceful now after all the turmoil, and safer too, somehow. Since Gandalf came back, I could sleep. They all fell silent for a while. Gimli refilled his pipe. There is one thing I wonder about, he said, as he lit it with his flint and tinder. Wormtongue. You told Theoden he was with Saruman. How did he get there? Oh yes, I forgot about him, said Pippin. He did not get here till this morning. We had just lit the fire and had some breakfast when Treebeard appeared again. We heard him humming and calling our names outside. I have just come round to see how you are faring, my lads, he said, and to give you some news. Horns have come back. All's well, very well indeed, he laughed and slapped his thighs. No more orcs in Isengard, no more axes. And there will be folk coming up from the south before the day is old. Some that you may be glad to see. He had hardly said when we heard the sound of hoofs on the road. We rushed out before the gates, and I stood and stared, half expecting to see Strider and Gandalf come riding up at the head of an army. But out of the mist there rode a man on an old tired horse, and he looked a queer twisted sort of creature himself. There was no one else. When he came out of the mist and suddenly saw all the ruin and wreckage in front of him, he sat and gaped, and his face went almost green. He was so bewildered that he had not seemed to notice us at first. When he did, he gave a cry and tried to turn his horse around and ride off. But Treebeard took 3 strides, put out a long arm, and lifted him out of the saddle. His horse bolted in terror, and he grovelled on the ground. He said he was Grima, friend and counselor of the king, and had been sent with important message from Theoden to Saruman. No one else would dare to ride through the open land so full of foul orc, he said. So I was sent, and I had a perilous journey, and I'm hungry and weary. I fled far north out of my way, pursued by wolves. I caught the sidelong looks he gave to Treebeard, and I said to myself, liar. Treebeard looked at him in his long, slow way for several minutes, till the wrenched man was squirming on the floor. Then at last he said, "Huh, I was expecting you, Master Wormtongue." The man stared at that name. "Gandalf got here first, so I know as much about you as I need. And I know what to do with you." "Put all the rats in one trap," said Gandalf, "and I will." "I am the master of Isengard now, but Saruman is locked in his tower, and you can go there and give him all the messages that you think of." let me go, said Wormtongue. "I know the way." "You knew the way, I don't doubt," said Treebeard. "But things have changed here a little. Go and see." He let Wormtongue go, and he limped off through the arch, with us close behind, until he came inside the ring, and could see all the floods that lay between him and Orthanc. Then he turned to us. "Let me go away," he whined. "Let me go away. My messages are useless now." "They are indeed," said Treebeard. "But you have only 2 choices. Stay with me until Gandalf and your master arrive, or to cross the water. Which will you have?" The man shivered at the mention of his master, and put a foot into the water, but he drew back. "I cannot swim," he said. "The water is not deep," said Treebeard. "It is dirty, but that will not harm you, Master Wormtongue. In you go now." With that the wrench floundered off into the flood. It rose up nearly to his neck before he got too far for me to see him. The last I saw of him was clinging to some barrel or piece of wood, but Treebeard waited after him and watched his progress. "Well, he has gone in," he said when he returned. "I saw him crawling up the steps like a dragged rat. There's someone in the tower still." A hand came out and pulled him in. "So there he is, and I hope the welcome is to his liking. Now I must go and wash myself clean of the slime. I'll be away on the north side if anyone wants to see me. There's no clean water down here fit for an Ent to drink, or to bathe in. So I will ask you 2 lads to keep a watch at the gate for the folk that are coming. There'll be the Lord of the Fields of Rohan, mark you. You must welcome him as well as you know how. His men have fought a great fight with the orcs. Maybe you know the right fashion of men's words for such lord better than Ents. There have been many lords in the green fields in my time, and I've never learned their speech or their names. They will be wanting a man food, and you know all about that, I guess. So find what you think is fit for a king to eat if you can. And that is the end of the story. Though I should like to know who this Wormtongue is. Was he really the king's counselor? He was, said Aragon, and also Saruman's spy and servant in Rohan. Fate has not been kinder to him than he deserves. The sight of ruin of all that he thought was so strong and magnificent must have been almost punishment enough. But I fear that worse awaits him. Yes, I don't suppose Treebeard sent him to the Orthanc out of kindness, said Mary. He seemed rather grimly delighted with the business, and was laughing to himself when he went to get his bath and drink. We spent a busy time after that, searching the flotsam and rummaging about. We found two of these storerooms in different places nearby, above the flood level, but Treebeard sent some ends down, and they carried off a great deal of the stuff. We want man food for 25, the ends said, so you can see that somebody had encountered your company carefully before you arrived. You three were evidently meant to go with the great people, but you would have fared any better. We kept as good as we sent, I promise you. Better because we sent no drink. What about drink? I said to the Ents. There's water of Isen, they said, and that is good enough for Ents and men. But I hope that the Ents may have found time to brew some of that draught from the mountain springs, and we shall see Gandalf's beard curling when he returns. After the Ents had gone, he felt tired and hungry, but we did not grumble. Our labors had been well rewarded. It was through our search for man food that Pippin discovered the price of all the flotsam. Those hornblower barrels. Pipeweed is better after food, said Pippin. That is how the situation arose. We understand it all perfectly now, said Gimli. All except one thing, said Aragorn. Leave from the South Farthings in Isengard. The more I consider it, the more curious I find it. I have never been in Isengard, but I have journeyed in this land, and I know well the empty countries that lie between Rohan and the Shire. Neither goods nor folk have passed that way in many long years, not openly. Saruman had secret dealings with someone in the Shire, I guess. Wormtongue may have found in other houses than King Theoden's. Was there a date on the barrels? Yes, said Pippin. It was the 1417 crop. That is last year's. No, the year before. Of course, now a good year. Ah, well, whatever evil was afoot is over now, I hope. Or else it is beyond our reach at present, said Aragorn. Yet, I think I shall mention it to Gandalf. Small matter though may seem among his great affairs. I wonder what he is doing, said Mary. The afternoon is getting on. Let us go and look around. You can enter Isengard now at any rate, Strider, if you want to. But it is not a very cheerful sight. Oh yeah. So everyone, that was what we did today. Do any of you know someone which is reading or making books, something like that? Because I would like to get to know more people. Well, if anyone ever sees someone which are in those categories, please just tell me, because then we get to know more people on here and have a much lovelier time. So yes, this was the last of today. I will see you all on next Sunday. And of course, thank you for being here. I appreciate it a lot. And let's see who we can go and say hi to this time. Yeah, maybe we should go annoy the troll. Can you put in the raid messages, Earthling? I would very much appreciate that. Thank you. So everyone, remember to get your raid commands, and then let's go and annoy the troll. Now that he hasn't been here. So yes, have a lovely week until next time. And it was very lovely to see you all today. Bye bye.